Okay, well, time now to turn our attention to the day's business news, and we begin with the struggles of electronic cigarette industry, which is facing a series of bans across the world, in fact. Cole Stangler is here to tell us more. Cole.
That's right, Eve. India is the latest country to announce a ban on e-cigarettes. Move coming on the same day that the state of Michigan in the U.S. put into place an emergency prohibition on flavored e-cigarettes. It came a day after the state of New York did the same. Now, more states in the U.S. are expected to follow suit, with a potential national ban looming as well. It's all in the wake of a rash of respiratory illnesses linked to vaping and concerns over companies marketing their products to youth. Now, the bans are casting a cloud over an industry that was once charging full steam ahead. Brian Quinn has more.
A rapidly heating market sector, soon to go up in smoke. The vaping industry, once seen as a potential savior to the future of tobacco companies, is facing an existential crisis in the U.S. After hundreds of cases of lung disease tied to vaping, Michigan and New York have banned the sale of flavored e-cigarettes in a bid to stem a rapid rise in their use among American youth. California is likely to soon follow suit. Retailers now facing an increasingly uncertain future.
The wholesalers or retailers, they're not going to take away from us. They're going to take it. They're not going to take it back. Neither the company is going to take it back. So it would be our loss, 100%.
The regulatory crackdown means a cloudy forecast for what's become a booming industry. The U.S. vape market has grown from $800 million in 2016 to an estimated $4.5 billion this year. Analysts had been predicting continued growth rates of up to 20% annually. Last year, U.S. tobacco giant Altria spent $13 billion on a 35% stake in Juul, by far the industry leader in flavored e-cigarettes. That deal inspired plans for a potential $200 billion merger between Altria and Philip Morris International, a deal that now faces an uphill climb as pressure mounts on Juul. And with Donald Trump saying his administration is considering a nationwide ban on flavored vaping products, fears are mounting that the once red-hot industry could run out of steam.
The governor of California has just signed into law a major expansion of workers' rights. The new law broadens the definition of an employee and aims to crack down on companies who misclassify workers as independent contractors. It was opposed heavily by ride-hailing giants Uber and Lyft, both of whom employ hundreds of thousands of drivers as independent contractors in the U.S. They could soon be forced to reclassify those drivers as employees under the new standard, which takes effect in January 2020. But for now, at least Uber is saying it thinks the new standard doesn't apply to its drivers. Either way, the bill's supporters are celebrating what they view as a victory, and the rest of the world is watching closely.
Well, what it does is it establishes a floor, right? It's a floor that all employees in the United States enjoy at this point, right? There's a minimum wage. If you're injured on the job, you'll have health care to support you, right? If you lose your job, you'll have unemployment insurance so that you can at least get to the next job. Those are things that Lyft and Uber drivers do not have.
Turning now to the markets, where investors are responding to the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates on Wednesday. In Asia, the Nikkei up just slightly, around 0.4% here. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong down over 1%. Shares, meanwhile, just about even over in Shanghai. Moving towards the European indices, and a similar picture to start the day so far. The FTSE down about 0.25%. A similar story on the DAX over in Frankfurt. Investors awaiting Eurozone job data, which should be announced later this morning. Meanwhile, here in France, there's a new man in charge of one of the country's most important companies. Jean-Pierre Farandou has been chosen to head the SNCF, France's state-owned public rail firm. Farandou is expected to be officially nominated on Thursday by the Élysée Palace. He'll be replacing the controversial Guillaume Pépi, who oversaw major reforms last year and weathered a wave of disruptive strikes. Changing leadership comes at a crucial time for the SNCF. Next January is when those hotly contested reforms finally start to take effect. Among other changes, they'll open up the railway to private sector competition. And finally, Burger King is taking a small step towards sustainability, at least in the UK. The fast food giant says it plans to stop giving away plastic toys with children's meals, a move designed to cut down on plastic waste. Burger King also encouraging customers to bring in their old plastic toys, which the company says it'll melt down and convert for use in the store. It also comes after a petition launched by two young sisters garnered more than 400,000 signatures. They called on Burger King and McDonald's to start using sustainable materials for giveaways, suggesting books or cardboard games as an alternative. Still no commitment from McDonald's, Eve, but another sign that youth climate action really seems to be getting the goods. It's working.
Indeed, they seem to be achieving a lot more than many adults, that's for sure. Cole Stangler, thanks a lot for that wrap-up of the business news.